Hello everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. I am Bookbird. This is my June wrap up. The first three books I'm going to mention are part of a reading like vlog where I read like Preacher Reads. And so the first book would be Red Rising by Pierce Brown, which is a revenge story basically about Darrow. He takes part in these games to try and overthrow this government of this planet. Going in, I thought the games mentioned by everyone in this book was gonna be a lot different than it actually was. I, in my head, was thinking more of like American Ninja Warrior, where it was more of like obstacle course and more athletic of games, and that's not really what it ended up being. I also found that Darrow himself had so much plot armor in this that I really wasn't scared for him. In the vlog I mentioned, he has like the Throne of Glass effect, where Aelin seems to mastermind a plan and we don't really know that this whole thought process happened. And I think that happens a lot with Darrow in this. And so for me personally, this didn't live up to the hype that everyone has for this first book. And I'm with the group of people who don't really like the first book that much. Eventually, maybe I'll pick up the second book, but I don't feel this huge urge to continue on. And continuing on with books that I don't get the hype for, I also read Dungeon Crawler Carl and found that the humor is just not my cup of tea, and it's very dirty, crass humor, and it was just continuously that. There were no other like forms of humor, and so I don't think the rest of the series is gonna be for me either. Even Princess Donut as a character wasn't enough to block out all the things I didn't like. And also, recently, my pastor has brought up not paying people to use God's name in vain. And even if you personally aren't the one taking God's name in vain, you're still paying people for the entertainment that are doing that. So that kind of sat with me even after reading this book, that I don't think I want to pick up another one because I don't want my money going towards that personally. So this isn't gonna be a fit for me. I do like the LitRPG style of this book, so maybe I'll find one that isn't meant to be mostly humorous and only focuses on the dungeon aspect or the adventure aspect of this LitRPG genre. So unfortunately, Dungeon Crawler Carl didn't work for me. This kind of doesn't count as a book, but it got me to eventually want to pick this book up because I picked up the radio broadcast version of Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. My library didn't have the ebook or the audiobook. They only had this radio version for me to pick up while doing this vlog. So I picked up the radio broadcast, which is kind of perfect for me as a theater kid because I really enjoyed it, and it was just a new form of media that I could try out. And even though it's a condensed version of this book, I still enjoyed it, and I want to pick up the full book to see what they had to cut out, what they had to condense. And next, I picked up the novella Livesuit by James S.A. Corey. And this was just on a whim to pick up from Libby because I wanted an audiobook and it was a short one. I think if this had been any longer, I wouldn't have made it to the end, but the ending was so worth it. I'm glad I did push through the very short audiobook that it was. So this novella is about space military troops who are being trained for this intergalactic war that's going on. If you've read the first book in the series, you'll kind of understand what's going on in this whole galaxy. I don't know that you would really need to have read that first book to read this. If anyone else has picked this up, let me know if you disagree, because I don't know that it really gives too much more away from the plot of the first one, and you don't need the first one to understand this one on its own. This is pretty much a military sci-fi novella, and the twist at the end is what made it so good for me personally, because I didn't really care too much about the character interactions and stuff that we got. And it also isn't kind of pushing me to read the second book in this series. I didn't really care for the first one. Nothing in this novella I think is going to be super connected to the second book. So I have no draw into the series, but I haven't read the Expanse series yet. I do own the first 3 and then randomly the 9th book. I eventually plan on picking up the Expanse series by S.A. Corey, just haven't gotten to it yet. And next is my library challenge choice, which was to find a book with a sun on the cover, and I opened it to be either the actual sun, like a sunset type of image, or the actual word sun. For my book, I picked A Bad Day for Sunshine, and I actually hit both, that there's actually an image of a sunset and the word sun in the title. So this, A Bad Day for Sunshine by Dorinda Jones, is different than what I had said I might be picking up, because it was taking so long for the book I mentioned in my summer TBR video that I just decided to grab one from my actual library instead of waiting for the interlibrary loan system. This is a humorous mystery thriller. So Sunshine is actually the name of our main character, and she is a detective that comes back to her small town to be the sheriff, and her personal purpose for doing this is to solve her own kidnapping as a teenager that is still unsolved. They don't know who actually took her, and so that's the main reason she's here back in her hometown. Her first day back being sheriff, she has to solve a kidnapping of a different teenager that happens to be her daughter's new best friend. Since they just moved here, she's finally found a best friend, and that best friend gets kidnapped, and Sunshine has to solve this crime. I will say I do really like the mother-daughter relationship in this book. It's very like the Gilmore Girls with Lorelai and Rory, but I also feel like so there's people that can't handle Harry Dresden's male gaze in his fantasy detective series. And this, I think, would be the female version of that. Sunshine has a female gaze aspect to her that I think was just too much for me personally. I also would say anyone who likes the Finley Donovan series, it's not going to be as slapstick comedy as that whole series is. It's a little deeper in themes and tone than Finley Donovan gets, but it still has kind of that same style of humor, I think. So I think anyone who likes Finley Donovan would enjoy this series. This was I enjoyed this first one. I don't feel the need to continue on with this series, but I did enjoy what I got with this first book. Other than the female gaze, like everything else was fine. It was a good mystery, and I'm glad I just tried it through this library challenge that I set up. Now on to the other reading vlog that I did this month was a read it or unhaul it type vlog, but I let Libby choose which books I was gonna knock off my physical TBR because I had them as audiobooks on Libby. First book I got to actually have these physically. I got to A Gathering of Shadows. This is the second book in the Shade of Magic series, and it was also one of the books I needed to get to in my 1 to 10 TBR tag for the year. It was very middle book syndrome. Oh, let me back up and explain. I am bad at remembering to explain books. Since this is the second one, I will just describe what the magic system really is. So our main character is Kel, and there's these different Londons based on color. So Kel can travel in between these different Londons, and each London has a different aspect to it. Certain Londons don't have magic. Kel is basically an emissary for, I always forget the colors, one of the Londons of the king and queen. He was adopted into the family and is the emissary between the other royalty of the other Londons. And basically the plot of the first one is he runs into a group of evil people in one of the Londons and has to deal with them. This second book, Kel is part of a magical games, but the magical games is actually less prominent in this second book. It is more of a character focus to have a character arcs and then also the full plot be realized by the third and final book. So this, like I said, is very middle book. It's to get you from the first book to the finale. And I do plan on picking up the third book because it's also part of my 1 to 10 TBR tag that I did that I need to get to. Daughter of Crows is the next book that Libby had picked for me in this vlog. I really enjoyed this one. I'm happy because then I get to keep this pretty edition by Broken Binding. this book is one that if you're not a person that can just be dropped into a story and figure things out as you go, this probably won't work for you. The writing conventions used in this is like one of my favorites. So this is, not to give, there's not really a lot I can say because of the nature of how this is written, but it's basically a group of an all-girls assassin training school experience. So sort of dark academia, but not, because it's not really like you're following them from class to class. It's different than that, but you are following them from a young age and how they got into this school and stuff like that. So this is probably my favorite book of this month with how much I enjoyed it. It's definitely a dark and gritty fantasy. It's lots of death happens in this book. Lots of violence happens in this book. I don't know that I don't as far as content, it wasn't over the top as far as like showing or describing the violence, really. It's nothing like, I don't think I would equate it to grimdark. At least in this one, there's no content that I really had a problem with. I also really, because of the way you have to figure things out as you're reading, it makes the reread ability so high, and I definitely want to reread this because of what you know by the end, and to go back to the beginning and know what you knew after finally, like, it's, you're never gonna get that first read feeling again, but you'll at least get a different experience the second read through because you know something that you didn't when you read it for the first time. I am unsure how I will feel about the second book in this series after the way this one was written, because I love the way this was written, but I don't think it's something that can be replicated into the second book. So I'm wondering if I'm gonna like the second book as much, because I don't know that the mystery aspect will be there like I had for this. But it also has gotten me to think about actually continuing the library trilogy, because I only read the first book in that and loved that book. The third book in that vlog I read is After the Fall by Edward Ashton. He is also the author of Mickey 7, which the movie is Mickey 17. The book is Mickey 7. I have not read that book, but I think I plan to after reading his writing in this one. So after the fall, there are humans and aliens, which are called the Greys. The Greys have taken over and invaded this planet. We're not told if it's Earth, we're just told it's a planet, but the humans were on it and they invaded and took over. Now the humans are basically subservient. They're basically enslaved by these Greys. We follow John. He's bonded to Martok. Martok treats John a lot differently than the rest of the Greys treat their bonded servants, because John is treated almost closer to a companion or a pet or like a dog, and the rest of the Greys definitely do not treat they're humans that well. This starts out as kind of like a sitcom almost with John and Martok, because Martok makes this deal with a different gray alien for some land and a house, and his job is to maintain this land, and make a profit from this farmland, basically. And if Martok does not repay this gray for this negotiation within 90 days, he loses the bond contract to John, because that's what he made this deal with, is if he doesn't make a profit within these 90 days to pay this gray back, then he loses John. John is right away trying to plan to make Martok able to pay this deal off and work hard to make this work, because his own life is on the line too. But it's almost like a humorous sitcom type of tone with this, and not too thematically deep for the first few chapters. And then as you get further in the book, it definitely shifts to being more of a commentary on humanity and the politics of this planet, and different aspects of that. The one thing that I really love about this book is that, like I said, we weren't specifically told this is Earth. So you get to decide as the reader, is this Earth? Is this a different planet in the solar system? The Greys themselves as aliens are given very little description other than being big and that they have tusks. So you as the reader get to decide, okay, well, what do these aliens actually look like, though? It describes kind of different Greys and slight differences between like the variations, but it doesn't tell you exactly what these aliens look like, so it leaves it up to your own imagination. And I love that when writers do that, to let you as the reader decide what you think. And the final book of this month was a Chirp Audio Free Friday book. It was called Seaside Secrets by Cindy Bell. It's a cozy mystery that takes place in a small beach town, and I figured that was perfect for summer. And I also just wanted another quick audiobook for the weekend, and this one was only 2 hours, so I figured it'd be perfect, especially because I'm currently hooked on the game Coral Island. It's a cozy farm game that takes place on an island, and I just wanted something to listen to while I did that. This is a very basic cozy mystery introduction book. So if you're new to cozy mysteries, or you're looking for that popcorn version of a cozy mystery, this would be one that you could pick up. It is, I will say, I did really love that the content through this entire first book is completely clean. This specific cozy mystery series is about a woman and her best friend, basically, who her best friend is getting a divorce, but I already can't remember names, but the main character, she gets an inheritance to this seaside bed and breakfast, and they're gonna fix this bed and breakfast up. But first, they have to solve the murder of the previous owner of this bed and breakfast that she inherited. That is the basis for this cozy mystery. And like I said, it's a very introductory, a very basic cozy mystery. Popcorn, listen to it without much brain type of read. But I did enjoy it. It was good to listen to while I built my own seaside farm. So I do recommend this if you want a quick, cozy read with clean content. Can get it on Chirp, probably for cheap. I don't know if it's still free or not, but that's the final book that I picked up this month. Let me know in the comments what was your favorite book of the month, and maybe what book wasn't really your favorite, or a book that you had to DNF this month. And let me know if you like this spot for videos. This is my tallest bookshelf that I own. I have other bookshelves, but they're all not as appealing as this one. And if you are not subscribed, please subscribe, because I would love to see everyone in my next video.